Hey guys, what's going on? It's Meshi with Path to Wellness with Meshi. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. How are you doing today? In today's video, we are going to be talking about the buzzword on the street, which is conscious parenting. What does that really mean? And if you are on a personal development journey, how will that impact your children? Will it impact your children? I don't know. We'll see. I think that we're going to start a conversation about that. I think that you will find it useful, that it's not actually coming from a psychologist. It's coming from a fellow student, just like you. So I thought that we would just kind of start this conversation, see where we end up, see what your thoughts are. I would love to hear from you guys in the comment below. And without further ado, I really just wanted to kind of have a chat with you guys on how I'm approaching conscious parenting. Am I approaching it? We'll see. We'll talk about it. So if you're new to this channel and you have no idea who I am, well, welcome. My name is Meshi, and we usually chat here about 2 to 3 times a week, and we talk about anything and everything that has to do with living a more consciously driven life. We talk about zero waste, about green beauty, about spirituality and spiritual practices, and we talk about things that will help you feel more empowered in living a more consciously driven life. So if that sounds good, you're going to absolutely love it here. Consider subscribing to the channel. Now, without further ado and keeping you here much longer, why don't we dive right into the video? So first of all, what is conscious parenting? To me, when we're talking about conscious parenting and why that really matters, I always kind of thought of that as like the latest buzzword, like mindfulness. But really, I realized that it was so much more than that, because it's a way of life. It's a way that you can approach really anything, specifically parenting. And I always wondered what happens when you are on a personal development journey. You really having that courage and that bravery to look at some of the darker and more shadow side of your own past, and how will that really impact not only your bottom dollar. Like, what if we're not really looking at and measuring your success based on, what is the next biggest sale that you made within your business, or like, what is the latest vacation that you took? What if we started measuring success in a way where we're looking at how balanced and how fulfilled you feel within your own lives? And a lot of the times, those things can be measured truly, in my own opinion, at the time when things are sort of falling apart and you're in a growth period. So when you're in a season in your life when things feel like they're sort of falling apart, that's sort of where, in my opinion, you're being tested the most, because we're being bombarded with so many different tools. I mean, it only takes one Google search really for you to find the latest meditation or the latest visualization or the latest whatever mindset tool that Tony Robbins and Brendon Burchard has to offer you. But I think that all of these things are amazing as long as you have a way to apply them. Other than that, it's just clutter. It's just mental clutter and it's physical clutter in your life. So while I'm all about, being more productive, waking up earlier, yoga, meditation, green juice, kombucha, all of these things are really great. But I think what matters the most is how will you know, and what will be the tools that you will reach for when you're in a state when things are falling apart. So as my business is growing currently, which is sort of the reason why I ended up taking a couple of weeks off from this channel, is because my business just kind of fell apart and I'm rebuilding it, and we're expanding. We moved locations, and as we were going through the stress of that, and as we're moving through the renovation process and moving everything in and expanding a team, my attention sort of had to go to a few different places. And in the midst of that, I sort of had to kind of have some interesting conversations with my children, because also school started. So as school starts, we're returning back to the routine. We're back into the rhythm of things. And with that also comes challenges. So I had some conversations with my daughters when it comes to just really looking at how are we approaching our children and what can we do as parents to help them feel more empowered rather than just manage them. And I think that a lot of you will agree that, the way that your parents were parenting you, you will likely probably not parent your children the exact same way. Maybe you will. For me personally, the way that I was parented, it gave me a base outline of what I like and what I really don't like, the way that I was parented. And there's a new movement, there's a new wave that is present right now when we're really embracing and allowing people to feel more empowered. And so I realized that feeling empowered does not just relate in your business and with clients that come and see you in your brick and mortar business or online business, whatever business you're running, but it also relates to how you manage relationships. And some of the most important relationships that you have are with your children. And in a huge way, I feel like my children are sort of like a mirror to what I'm doing well and what I'm not doing well. So on the areas where I'm not doing so well, that are a little bit more challenging, those are the areas that need a little bit more work. But conscious parenting was one of those things for me where I really love that. I really love helping my children to be shaped in a way that they feel more empowered, more independent, but they still feel supported, and they still have the ability and the room to grow and to expand and really find their own voice. So I think that by the time they are teenagers or by the time they are going off to school, then they will have a different approach to life than what I had. So this is sort of where the idea came from. And then what have I learned all along this way? Not much, but just a little bit. But one of the things that I have learned is if I'm on a personal growth journey and I'm open and receptive to managing my internal and external environment, I absolutely owe it to my children to share that with them, because there's a massive disconnect. You can't be that person that on one hand eats the kale and drinks the kombucha, but then on the other hand, you're giving McDonald's to your children. To me, there's a big disconnect there. I think that you're either going to be influencing everyone and you understand how far that reach will go, but then you give freedom to your family members to really choose for themselves and to try and to explore. And I look at personal growth exactly the same way. We can introduce the concept of hard work. We can introduce, personal growth and reading and listening to podcasts and being inspired and being continual students. I think that those things need to be, there are things that they just need to be modeled, and then your children can kind of choose for themselves to follow suit or not. But nevertheless, even if they don't follow suit right now, I feel like we're planting the seeds. So we had an interesting conversation with my daughter about that as she was informing us that she was planning on quitting potentially gymnastics, which is not a big deal, but it becomes a big deal when on one hand we're crying that, it's so important to us, but then on the other hand, we're looking to leave that and to really do something else, or just really punking out. And so we had a big conversation about that, and I thought that I would just share that with you, and hopefully you will resonate with it, and hopefully it will help you. Basically, one of the biggest things that I took away from these conversations with my kids, besides not quitting, is just do the things that really light you up. And I can be that parent that I model that for myself, but then I don't encourage my children to follow that same path. So I think that when it comes to conscious parenting, I think that you need to build a relationship with your children in a way where you honor their voice instead of trying to control and micromanage their every step. Give them enough freedom where they feel empowered, but not enough freedom where they can go off and do crazy things. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a fine-tuned balance. But I think that there's something so powerful about teaching children how to feel more in control of their own lives instead of taking that power away from them and really shaping every thought and every belief system and every direction in their lives. Because really, I think that we can learn so much from our own kids, regardless of what age they are. If we are open and receptive, and if we're not leading with ego, and we're not leading with old behavior patterns just because that's how we were raised. So this is sort of where we're at. We had a really nice conversation with my daughter about not only not quitting, but just really finding your voice, doing things that light you up instead of doing things that society and your friends and people around you will find acceptable. We talked about dreaming big and really owning the fact that when you dream big and you put the work in and you really align yourself energetically so you can get closer to your dream is going to feel way more fulfilling than just chasing something that somebody else set out to you because that's what society told you to do. Or just being too lazy and not going after anything and then think about it later and dealing with the consequences at that point. I think that these conversations will happen more and more often. And I think that, we should start as early as possible, because when we do that, then we're no longer going to be worried about, ooh, what are the snacks that my children are eating? But we're really empowering our children to make conscious choices for themselves. Age appropriate, obviously. But to me, that's true empowerment. To me, that's building that relationship with your children in a way where they feel empowered and they look at you like a role model, and you're actually modeling the behavior that you really wish to see in them. To me, that is the way to really move forward. Instead of controlling, micromanaging, exhausting yourself, getting resentful, and then pushing all of those resentments onto your children, to me, it becomes a really imbalanced relationship. And children may not tell you right now, or they may not resent you right now, but down the road, when they really feel directionless and really lost, that's when you will notice it the most. I wanted to link in the description one of the videos that I think you will find super empowering and super helpful, which is sort of what inspired this video today. It is a conversation between Marie Forleo and Dr. Shefali Tsabary. I believe that I did not butcher her name. Let's hope I didn't. They are talking about some of the tips of how you can really help your children feel more empowered, and how parents can feel more empowered in the process of, doing conscious parenting. So I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know if it's something that you've looked into. First of all, if you are on a personal growth journey, do you find that it impacts the way that you're parenting your children? Because it's starting to impact the way that I parent my children and the way that I talk to them, and the major lessons that I really want them to take away, instead of worrying about the tiny little micro details that in like a month it will not matter. You know what I mean? I would love to hear from you guys. Let's start this conversation. I think that these can be like the building blocks of the next generation that we have the ability to really truly impact. So I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments how you are doing with conscious parenting. And in the meanwhile, if you are brand new here, well, thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, you already know what to do. You can give me a thumbs up. You can subscribe to the channel. You can also hit the notification bell. That way you get notified every time I release a new video. And in the meanwhile, you already know what to do. Just keep shining, you guys, because you're just so much more powerful than you think. And we're seeing examples of that every day. So have yourself a wonderful day, and I will see you again in my next video. Bye.